So, here we'll be talking about public goods that are good, and how crypto applies to public goods, and how, I'm guessing, feasible, actual physical content that the public uses, but he'll explain more about that, obviously. So let's give a hand for Graven.
Hey everybody, get on this side. It's clicking for me already. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about public goods and crypto and how they intersect. Now it's not going.
Bottom mirror. See, it's not just me.
Yeah. All right. So I'm Graven, and I work on a project called the GeoWeb. That's not my talk tonight, but it is heavily influenced because it is a public goods project. And so you might be wondering what a public good actually is, but I'll get to that. If you want, you can follow me on stuff later, get in contact, I'll be hanging around. If anything I say up here is interesting and you have follow-ups, glad to talk. So my answer to why crypto is a meme, of course. And it is the combination between crypto and public goods creating abundance. And I say that, and some of you might be surprised. Isn't crypto all about creating artificial scarcity? Aren't you just like taking a JPEG and making it worth a lot of money because it's now scarce? That's, I guess, partially correct. But I think the problem space that is opened up, or the solution space, I guess I should say, with crypto is a lot wider than that. It's about embracing scarcity in strategic areas, and it actually opens up opportunity to create more good things that we all want to share. And so those things that we want to share, I believe the best version of those are public goods. So if you haven't taken an econ class in a while, that's okay. A good to an economist is a service, a commodity, a piece of information that's valuable. And there's different ways to break that down and classify them. One common way to do that is break it down across whether it's an excludable good or a non-excludable, and whether it's a rivalrous good or a non-rivalrous good. Excludability is kind of self-explanatory. Can you stop someone from using this good for their own purposes? Things that are public and you can't stop them, like fresh water and fish, are non-excludable. That's awesome. That's a good quality that I'd like to see more of. And then rivalrous and non-rivalrous goods. What these come down to, as you can probably see on the, I don't know if that's clear enough for you, but the examples of this, a rivalrous good is something that when one person consumes it, it impacts the ability of someone else, their ability to use that good and get value from it. There's these magical goods out there that I can use and you can use too, and neither of us impact each other. And so there's this sweet spot down in that bottom right, public goods, fresh air, knowledge, national defense. My use of it doesn't impact yours. So my thesis for this whole thing and why I care about crypto is things that are in the bottom right quadrant are awesome. They're practically magical. And we should be finding out more and more ways to fund them. Part of the problem with them being non-excludable is public goods don't have business models, at least till today. That's why we have governments, basically, to administer and fund these things. And so most of the public goods we have today are all governmental. Even the internet started through government funding. And so I'm not here to say that those things are necessarily going away, nor should they, but I think there's an opportunity within crypto to do more of those. Oops, wrong way. So how does crypto actually do this? You've heard a few of these words throughout the talks. These are common themes. This is why we're all here. It's what gets a lot of people excited. Hopefully I'll provide a little bit different color about why these attributes actually make for more public goods. But I'll definitely be building off of what Dan and Red shared earlier. So first one, permissionlessness. This has come up again a couple times. I look at it in terms of basically this motivational poster right here, right? It's like a Venn diagram of if you have aptitude, drive, and opportunity, you can make an impact. But there's truth in that, right? Like, nothing gets done without someone that's going to actually do it. They have the skills to do it, and then an opportunity. The environment around them is conducive for them to actually succeed. Permissionless, to me, is the biggest lever we have to pull to make that center part of that Venn diagram as large as possible. It's hard to, like, we want to invest in education and raise the aptitude of people. We want to motivate people. But if you just remove regulations and stop saying you can't do this, we open up the world for a lot of possibilities. The internet has proven this. There's almost 8 billion people on Earth now. I think it's like in the coming days we're going to cross it. There's a lot of really good ideas. There's a lot of really talented people out there that are very driven, but just don't have the same opportunities that we do by being in the United States. Crypto takes what the internet did in opening up opportunity and takes it a step further. Not only can you put information out online, you can have credibility when you do it. For all the things that like Red talked about with smart contracts, you can put out a contract that came from your head, put it out online, and people can trust that and believe it. And so if it's a good idea, all of a sudden your impact can be massive. And so that's point one of how we're going to have more public goods, by just letting people experiment and do it and be successful. Also, some people won't be successful. That's okay. This is all done in a non-coercive way too. I guess that's an important thing. I didn't hear that term used yet, but when you do something online, no one can force you to do these things. So if you have an idea, you put it out online, someone that interacts with your contract, they made the choice to do that, unless you're hacked, blah, blah, blah. There's caveats always to everything. But when a government institutes a bad idea, you're screwed, unless you're going to give up your citizenship and move elsewhere. So the idea that we can do this permissionless thing and have it be non-coercive gives me confidence to say it's okay to experiment and do it. It's not going to be that harmful. Next is transparency, another term that's come up a lot. Obviously for individuals, there's some harm with this, but I think the main thing is about faith in our institutions and transparency around what they actually do. Got a political cartoon up here. I don't know, like there's that cartoon of I'm just a bill, and like you could understand how things got through Congress. It doesn't actually end up working like that. It's a madhouse. It's totally opaque. There's special interests, there's filibusters, there's all these things. And I think that lack of transparency and us understanding how our government is supposed to work for us totally undermines our confidence. So when you have a smart contract out there, you have that digital vending machine that maybe you aren't a developer, but someone else has broken it down in plain language for you to understand what's going to happen with this thing. It gives you confidence to explore, to commit, to do it. And when it comes down to public goods, there's this challenge that I mentioned earlier. We need to have funding. We need people that are willing to put up their money for the collective good. We have taxes. Everyone hates them, right? Because no one actually sees the impact of what they put in. Some people will move to a school district and pay higher taxes because they see the impact it'll have for their kids. So it's not, people aren't selfish, but, well, people are selfish, but they want to see cause and effect. People will invest in the future if they can actually see it working. And so by using smart contracts and putting these things out for you to actually understand how your investment in the future is going to impact you and the people you care about more is also going to increase our investment in public goods. Next, scalability. This chart up here is the number of venture capital deals in the US from 2006 to 2021. It's basically been the golden age of venture capital. And there's something big that happened in computer terms in 2006. There's a lot of things that happened, but one in particular that happened in 2006. Anyone have a guess? No, not quite. So this drive from a 5x growth in US venture capital, and that's just the number of deals, not the dollars. In 2006, AWS was launched. Amazon Web Services. For your non-computer geeks, you've heard of Amazon obviously, and you probably know about Amazon Web Services, but the impact that that had on scalability of startups is evidenced here. What Amazon Web Services did was launch, they had big server farms. Back in the day, before AWS, when you raised venture capital, you were a software company, the first thing you would do, one of the first things you would have to do, buy a bunch of servers, hire someone to manage them, plug them in, get a space to plug all that stuff in, and then you can start putting your ideas into software for it to run, for people to interact with it. AWS all of a sudden removed that CapEx, capital expenditure, and that distraction of having to run a server, your own servers, and said, focus on your ideas, focus on software. And the VCs love that. They made a shit ton of money doing it. And I think we're gonna enter the golden age of public goods through smart contracts. And the reason is it takes this one step further. Instead of paying an AWS bill every month as a startup, or someone that wants to build a public good, you can launch a smart contract, pay once, make it autonomous, throw away the keys, what Brad talked about earlier, make no updates. You're done. It can run there forever, as long as that blockchain is there. And obviously, there's pluses and minuses. Maybe you want to maintain some upgradability, and there'll be some other costs, but that is a thing. One of the biggest protocols in DeFi in Web3 is Uniswap. It is an autonomous contract. There is no upgradability. They paid for it, they put it out there, and now users can pay per time that they interact with it. But those users are interacting with it because they see value in interacting with it. So again, as someone that's trying to build a public good that doesn't have a business model, you can't be paying an AWS bill every year, especially if you want to build a public good that millions and billions of people use. But with a smart contract, you can. You can take your idea, put it in a smart contract, pay once, and if the world deems it valuable, they'll pay for the operational expenses long term. It's very powerful. And then the last and most important factor that I believe why crypto will make more public goods is the culture. All these other things, they all interact with each other, but when it comes to technology, it's still people deciding how things work. And we can bend the future to how we want it. I look at crypto as kind of the frontier. I think of the type of people that like explored the physical frontier. You're gonna go on the Oregon Trail or something. You're probably a rough and tumble type person. You have a certain type of personality, but they all work together to get out there, like to make it, because they had to. And in crypto, we're still in that phase where if you have a big idea that you want to see out in the world, there are millions of people that are going to support you. And so one of my favorite projects out there is called Gitcoin. It exists to give open source software developers money that don't have a business model. It's pretty crazy that people can do that. And you can do it, again, through all the things we talked about earlier. That you can actually trust that your money is going to this person. You can see the results of what they're doing. So when we go forward, I think just like tech, we have quite a few nerds in here, but not everyone in here is maybe as technical. It really does end up coming down to the people and what you want to see. So there is going to be people at Cryptorado, all these projects that will welcome you with open arms and try to make the better world that we actually want to see. So I'll just end with this. This is a picture, the style is called solar punk. And it's popular within crypto circles because I think there's this idea that we can have it all. We can have this super technological future, but like, look how prominent nature is in that. and like how great of a place that would be to live. So that's what crypto is to me, and what I think we're actually capable of doing. So that I will end and answer any questions.
Can you give an example, maybe you already have of issue that's being used that crypto can like make better or take over?
Yeah, well, we have one over here, Taylor. Kendall is big into education, and he's got an organization that focuses a lot on ways that you can leverage Web3 for teaching people at scale. And so knowledge is probably the ultimate public good. When I have it in my head, it actually probably helps you. It doesn't take away from knowledge in your head. Like we can go back and forth. So getting a lot of different ideas within education is awesome. I will say that nothing exists perfectly in like that bottom right quadrant, or maybe not nothing, but it's all on a spectrum. And so there's different layers of excludability and rivalrousness. Like a road is typically said it's a public good, but like if you've been in traffic, you know that if too many people use it, it sucks, like it stops working. So it's like on a spectrum. Uniswap is kind of one of those where it's brought up as maybe that's a public good, but it is like, I mean, block space is another thing that is, if there's too much going on, it gets squeezed out. And so I guess the last one I'll say is I work on a project that we believe will end up being a public good. If you want to scan that, it's got some more information. We're trying to build a way for augmented reality to be cohesive in the world. Because things are digital, you can create as many as you want. If there's some day when we're all wearing smart glasses and we walk into a room and we all see different things, we're literally living in a different reality. So the public good for that is creating consensus. So that when we can walk in here, we can see the art on the wall and have that shared experience. And so that's something that's near and dear to my heart that we're trying to build as a public good.
So I really like the idea about the government transparency. Do you think that's something that